Hi, I'm Roberto Villegas, host of Retro Funtime. We here at CosmicRadio.TV understand that some of you people out there do not have 20 minutes to commit to watch this show, but still want to get the full experience of in-depth video game analysis. So, we here at CosmicRadio.TV LLC have licensed technology from our friends at Network 23. So, without further ado, here is this week's episode. In 10 seconds, go! For those of you who still have their heads, here is this week's episode at regular speed. Enjoy.
I just can't seem to grow up. I said I just can't seem to grow up. But you know what? What? I don't think I want to. Follow me here. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Retro Funtime. I'm your host, Roberto Villegas, and today we are beginning our look at the Mega Man series. Starting off with the actually not so successful game that produced probably one of the most prominent video game characters in video game history. Today we are looking at Capcom's Mega Man. Released on December 17th, 1987, Mega Man, or better known as Rockman in Japan, was released for the Nintendo Famicom. The game follows the adventures of Mega Man as he goes on to defeat the evil robot masters of Dr. Wily. Utilizing a sort of rock-paper-scissors methodology, Mega Man uses the weapons of the fallen robot masters to defeat future bosses and enemies. Though it wasn't a commercial hit, it would solidify one of Capcom's longest-running series spanning multiple generations of consoles. Alright, it is time for Mega Man Uno, or Mega Man 1 if you are in the States. Obviously, we have a lot to play with. I'm going to be fully honest. Mega Man 1 may, in fact, be the only Mega Man I've actually never really played. I know of it. I know all the characters in it. I know the legend and lore. But in terms of gameplay, it's definitely the one I lack. As you can see, we have, of course, 6 Robot Masters to take care of. Electman, Cutman, Gutsman, Iceman, Bombman, and Fireman. Or Fireman, Bombman, Iceman, Gutsman, Cutman, and Electman. Yeah. So let's start out the game. Let's play this. Now, there's a couple of weird oddities about this Mega Man that you'll learn just by seeing it. First and foremost, that being just the freaking fact that there is a, there's actually a point value there. This is the strangest thing about this Mega Man, and I would never really quite understand why this is the case. In fact, this is the only one in the entire series that had points attached to it. I think it's just because I have a feeling that because this time in Capcom's development cycle, like their life as a company, they were primarily making arcade games, so maybe this is just sort of a weird kind of outlier from their days of being arcade, because there's no other reason as to why this is the case. It's such a weird thing to do. I mean, considering the fact that Mega Man is traditionally a non-linear game, there is no real... I mean, there's an end game, of course, but I mean, to the point that this is during, again, the point in history when this game came out. Keep in mind, arcades were the norm, you know, and at the arcade, it was always about the high score. It was always about, you know, not necessarily beating Pac-Man, because Pac-Man didn't have an ending, or something like, I mean, even Turtles had a score and it had an ending. But Turtles didn't come out for a while. I think this came out, I can't remember whether this came out before or after. I'll have to look again. But what I'm trying to say is that when this came, please just show me, okay. You sucker. I have to literally wait for him to, yeah, I can bounce too. I want to kill you, something Joe. I forgot what this guy's called, Sniper Joe, I think. Come on, Sniper Joe. There we go. Sorry. I had to get rid of it. But yeah, it's during that weird time of Capcom. And like I said, arcade games were still big. And so it never really occurred to what you're supposed to do with a non-linear game. I mean, even though Mario had an ending, technically, it also had a score. It's not that at this time we didn't have any non-linear games that couldn't have worked. We definitely did with Metroid at this time, and Zelda, of course, as we've mentioned before. So there was precedence for a non-linear game of some sort, but it really wouldn't be for a while for Mega Man to have that as part of its thing, the idea of not having a score. Wouldn't be until 2. Surprisingly enough, Mega Man 1 was not a financial success, which is a bit strange. I would have figured, especially considering how, I can't imagine a world without Mega Man. I can't imagine any video game world without Mega Man. I mean, I'm excited for the fact that, obviously recently at E3 it was announced that the new Smash Brothers game would in fact have the Blue Bomber in it as a playable character. And so, it's coming to that, taking that knowledge into kind of, oh god, this is weird. You die. Why not? This is gonna be fun. So I can't imagine a world where Mega Man doesn't exist. He's such a quintessential character in terms of video game history, in terms of Capcom history. I mean, I don't think there has been at least a Mega Man on every single video game console that I can remember. Maybe some I can't even remember. All right, let's take care of Bomberman first, and we'll get back to it. Oh, you son of a whore. But yeah, so hearing the fact that Mega Man 1 was not financially successful, God damn it. Because we've talked about a lot of these other games that have had sequels. Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and all these other games have all been financially successful, and hence why they got a sequel. Whereas with Mega Man, this didn't do so hot. It did better than they expected it to, but it didn't do as good as they'd hoped. So for Capcom to even then, essentially waste resources, not even resources, I guess, but just, god damn it, we'll never get that. We don't need that. Oh, you bastard. To sort of, wow, okay. To just spend the time and effort to make a sequel for a game that didn't do that financially well, it kind of bogs my mind a bit. I'm glad they did. Like I said, I can't imagine a world without, good old Rock over there. But it's strange. It's financially a financial oddity in my opinion. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is sometimes you gotta give a character a second time. Now there's one thing I had to go talk about Mega Man in general. When they're all developed, it was developed kind of in a rock, paper, scissors sort of format where stronger enemies would essentially, or enemies would actually, I should say, would allow you, the player, to damage more. So for example, I don't remember the order. When we get to Mega Man 2, I'll probably have a better ability of telling you the exact order of play as to what to do. But Mega Man 1, like I said, is that one weird game I have. Obviously, in this case, Fireman would hurt Iceman. I guess Bombman might hit Gutsman, maybe? Let's give that a shot. There is one thing, however, that would stay consistent in the Mega Mans, regardless of whether it be the Nintendo, whichever version you'd play, and that'd be the music. It's always top notch. Even graphically, it's pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of sprites are going on there. You got Mega Man here, kind of having two shades of colors. It's very son of a bitch. It's all about timing there, I guess. Let's continue. We got about a few more minutes to play. And I guess we'll come back here and play a little more. Let's see how far we get. But yeah, it's interesting some stuff. We'll talk more after the break. Goddamn. You know, we are actually out of time for this portion of gameplay. So hold on a second. We'll be right back to more gameplay here in Mega Man. But in the meantime, why don't you check out our second part, analyzing all the craziness that goes into our in-depth discussion of the Nintendo Entertainment System.
A video game console is nothing without its games, and the NES is no different. But even though the actual game code itself is what we have fun with, rarely do people look at the actual gray cart and understand all the story and technical design that goes into it. I previously touched on the restrictions Nintendo had placed on the cartridge manufacturing, but I didn't get into the actual design of the carts themselves, especially the major differences between the US and Japanese design. For starters, because of the US manufacturing restrictions, all licensed NES games had a similar gray look. This would be in contrast to the Famicom cart design in both look and color. There were also some technical changes in the pin-out for the ROM, but this would be due to the redesign and placement of the expansion port. The one thing both the Japanese and US cartridges had in common were the memory management controllers, or MMCs for short. These special chips allowed game designers to get around many of the limitations of the Nintendo, from saving game progress, better palette usage, and even the ability to switch to scrolling. For the most part, each chip was developed by Nintendo and gave different features. There were some exceptions, such as Konami's VRC series and the Sunsoft's FME7. Each chip would help power the games of the Nintendo and would allow developers to push the little gray box above and beyond its limits at the time. Games are important, but what good is a game without visuals and sounds? Next time, we'll take a look at the NES Picture Processing Unit and Sound Chip.
Okay, we are back here with Mega Man 1, and now normally, of course, we play more, but for some reason, I want to give Bomberman I want to give Gutsman one more shot, one more try before we cut to this. I'm trying to think other I'm trying to, again, Mega Man 1 is such a strange oddity of a game, especially, you know, when you look at the series as a whole. Now, granted, it was designed, we understand why, but it's just so, there are some, I guess, for lack of better words, issues. Let's play some cut, man. There are some issues with Mega Man 1 as a game that I have. A lot of it has to do with the controls themselves. And maybe it's because, I didn't, to be honest, my first technically Mega Man I played with Mega Man 2. The one I owned was Mega Man 3. But that does not mean anything. But for some reason, Mega Man feels it's still a solid platformer. It still definitely has, it's still a Mega Man game, and once you kind of get used to it, it makes a lot more sense. But for some reason, it feels a little stiffer, and Mega Man doesn't stop quite on a dime like he does. You know, and it doesn't. I think actually, to be honest, it's the exact same thing. What's cool about Mega Man is that once you start playing the later series games, you see pretty much all this. I guess, for lack of better words, the seeds that they laid out. Because like I said, this should, to be honest, Mega Man 2 probably should never have happened. I mean, if you take it as a financial idea, if Mega Man 1 does terribly here, kind of becomes a little bit of a sleeper hit in the United States, but didn't do as hot as they'd hoped for. So by that definition, you know, Mega Man 1 should have been it, and Capcom moved on and, you know, done whatever they did. But giving it a second chance, you see kind of where they improved for sure. You can definitely tell where they improved, and a lot of things they improve are controls. They get rid of that point system, which we will learn when we play too, but they make things a lot better. But Mega Man 1 still has its charm. I mean, Mega Man 1, again, it's the first one. It's the first thing. I mean, and even on a technical level, it's kind of funny. For example, one of the more interesting kind of technical things that always happens that you'll start to learn when it comes to game design, especially when it comes to classic game design, is that a lot of the look and feel that we know and love today is sometimes influenced just simply by design limitations. For example, Mario had a hat on so they wouldn't have to render hair. He also had I think it was he had a mustache so they wouldn't have to render a mouth. That's those sort of weird things that kind of Mega Man follows the same kind of idea behind it. Mega Man, the reason Mega Man is blue and cyan is because on the Nintendo palette, blue you have more shades of than some other colors. And that's the original reason they chose blue and cyan for Mega Man's main color palette. On a technical level, Mega Man actually takes up, I think, a total of, I'm if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he blinks in this one or not. I'll have to look and find out. Actually, no. Mega Man still takes up that palette. Mega Man takes up, I think, a total of at least 2 palettes on the Nintendo. One for his body and one for his face. So technically, he's made of multiple sprites. I forget how many he's made of. I think that would. But I forget the exact count. But he is made of multiple sprite sections and things like that. So he's actually a very complicated design character. But even then, in terms of the background, we're not really seeing too much crazy going on in Mega Man 2 here. We see a couple of, textures like that, but nothing. Mega Man, on a beyond the game mechanic, is a very simple design game. But it's still a very fun game. I mean, despite its flaws it has, and it does have some flaws for sure, it's still a fun fucking game, and it's something that I still enjoy, the mechanic of Mega Man. And we will, of course, be analyzing in future parts the rest of the series. You'll learn. You'll all get to see the improvement. But it's, again, keep in mind, Mega Man 1, not a financial success as you might have led to believe. And yet, I can't imagine a Capcom with. Okay, I was like, can I flip with them? I cannot. Oh. I don't know why I'll forget it. Was the wrong play. Let's try this again. Got time for one more run into Cutsman. I always want to say Cutsman. I think that's influenced by the damn anime. I mean, seriously, we wouldn't even have the Mega Man cartoon show. Heck, Mega Man's such an integral character in gaming history. I mean, you just look up Mega Man and you'll see exactly how important of a character he is in our gaming history. And that's a big one. Of course, we are completely out of time here. We actually beat Cutman and we beat Bombman, so at least we beat 2 enemies today. So that's it for today for gameplay. So tune in. So stick around. Don't leave yet. So you're trying to walk away, but don't leave, because you're gonna miss my final summation on Mega Man 1. Mega Man is a strange game in Capcom's history. For starters, it would create one of their better-known characters and one of their longest-running properties, having a game on numerous consoles. Heck, I don't know what a world would be like without the Blue Bomber. But the game came at a strange time. Though Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and Goonies 2 showed that a game didn't need a score if it had a story to tell, Capcom still felt it was needed. Though I'm not certain, this may have more to do with the time the game was released and the fact that Capcom was more accustomed to making arcade games. It's the only one in the entire series with this mechanic and is purely a relic of its time. Beyond this, the game is still a great platformer, though extremely difficult. The controls are a bit slippery, and Mega Man isn't as responsive as I'd like him to be, but for the first in what would be a long-running series, it's a great start. Even though sales of Mega Man were poor, Capcom still decided to go ahead and make a sequel. In our next part, we will take a look at one of the better games in the Mega Man series, Mega Man 2. Thanks for watching this week's show. Of course, you can catch all of our previous episodes and join in the discussion at our website, CosmicRadio.TV/Retro Funtime. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Retro Funtime and let us know how we're doing. Well, that's it for today, so tune in next time. But remember, it ain't art unless we prove it to be.